Thank you, Emily. Welcome everyone back to the program. We're glad you're listening. I wanted to take a few minutes here before we get to our guest we have coming on shortly in Laura Cardoza Moore. I tell you what, folks are really getting caught with this post-election propaganda. You've got some folks coming out and saying, well, the conservative movement is dead. It's just over. It's dead. And there's a lot of people that want to jump on the bandwagon simply out of depression. Of course, that's not true. They said that for a long time, that conservatism is dead. As a matter of fact, liberals say it all the time, hoping that the voting majority, not the majority that showed out in this election, but the majority conservative nation that we are, will buy into that. But the reason why I want to talk about it a little bit is that I want to move forward in what has always been the goal of this program, and that is conservative victory, not only in the state of Kansas, where we start fighting that battle, but across the entire country. And if we're going to have victory, we have to understand and come to terms with our losses, why we lose when we lose, why we win when we win. We need to find, understand, and grab on to the winning recipe if we want to win the cultural war that's raging across the society. When I wrote my book, The Good Fight, Why Conservatives Must Take Back America, I was looking at the long-term view. Getting rid of Barack Obama was never the cure-all to this problem, because Barack Obama didn't encapsulate the entirety of what's wrong with this nation. Of course, we're in for a hurting. The next 4 years are going to be rough. They're going to be rough on the state of Kansas. They're going to be rough on everybody. But it tells us and it shows us that elections matter, that there are consequences for how you vote and how you don't vote. I think what we can learn is how we can be stronger as conservatives in strategizing for victory. A lot of folks are really getting off on the fraud. The fraud's important to look at, and we've had several guests on this program talking about fraud in other states. If we find real fraud, we want to show it to you. I know there's fraud out there, but let's put it into perspective. There's fraud in every election. There's always going to be fraud. You cannot stop all fraud. Do we want to stop as much as possible? Sure. Do we want elections to be honest? Sure. And so it's worthy of bringing up to note. But don't think that your candidate, if it was Mitt Romney, that he lost this election because of fraud. I don't believe that, nor do I believe that getting rid of all fraud would have taken care of the issue. When you go out to a campaign, when you're going out to win the presidency, you have to go out there to dominate, to annihilate your enemy, to win by such a large margin that fraud can't touch you, because it's always going to be out there. Think of it a little bit like a heavyweight boxing match. I don't know how many people like boxing matches, but I do. Not only for the athletic nature of it and the physical nature of it, but also for the strategy and tactics that are employed in boxing. It doesn't matter whether it's a heavyweight fight. It could be a title fight of any kind. The challenger has got to take the belt. It doesn't matter if you're in a heavyweight fight and the champ, the one who holds the belt, is really not worthy in your eyes of being the champ. He's underweight. He doesn't have a knockout punch. He's not really good. The field's been lacking. He's overhyped by the media. You've heard this in these title fights. It doesn't matter. He's got the belt. He is the champ. And if you're going to win, if you're going to take that belt away, what's the easiest way to do that? A knockout. Leave your opponent face down, back down in the dust. Total annihilation. Total annihilation. If you don't do that, and it goes to the scorecards, who is most likely to win? It's the champ. The champion always gets the benefit of the doubt. When it's close, there is a presumption, even if it's false, that close races should go to the champ. And so What is the best strategy for a fighter that's going out there to take the belt away? It's to leave it all in the ring. Throw everything you've got. Go as aggressively as possible. Leave nothing to chance. Strike on every fighting ground, every vantage point that you have to win. You go out there to win. Now, did we see that in 2008 with John McCain? No. What was John McCain's strategy? I will not say anything negative about my opponent. I'm going to take the high road. I'm going to be above the fray. All these damning bits of information about my opponent, Barack Obama, his radical communist ties, his radical ideology, his inability to lead, all of these things that could have been beaten home, John McCain didn't do. So John McCain lost. Well, Mitt Romney comes out, a better candidate, but the same kind of strategy, the same kind of philosophy. I'm not going to go for the throat. I'm not going to go for the knockout. I'm going to go and talk about the economy, which is very important. But it was not the full story of Barack Obama, especially with things like Benghazi happening out there. This long line of the Christian attack from this president that should have been noted. His inability to lead in moral matters, matters of ethics. But Barack Obama wouldn't have been able to have defended against that. And worse yet, Mitt Romney wouldn't go for the throat. Mitt Romney had a very good first debate, but it was more of Barack Obama's inability to be prepared for someone that might ask him a few questions. And then you saw what you often see in those heavyweight bouts, where you've got one fighter, and sometimes it's a challenger that thinks he's ahead. Maybe he's had a knockdown. Maybe he made his opponent wobbly in a couple rounds. Maybe he landed and he thinks he's got the fight won. And so instead of trying to throw the knockout, trying to throw the heavy punches, staying as aggressively as possible, knowing that he's got to take the belt away from the champ, he starts dancing. He starts throwing the jab only. Starts trying to keep from getting hit. And in the end, he loses because he wasn't as far ahead as he thought. And he forgot the fundamentals that you have to take the fight to the champ. Now, I know when I call Barack Obama the champ, people cringe in conservative America. I cringe. But he is the president of the United States. And because the challenger in the Republican Party failed to take the right strategy to show just how much there can be a difference between these parties when the two parties adhere to their natural foundations as far as ideology. When the Republican Party is clearly the conservative party and the Democrat Party is clearly the liberal party, that people can make that clear choice, that being successful, that making a profit, that doing well, that getting the American dream is something you never hide from, you never apologize from, that you look to those that have less than you and you don't say, I have to lower myself to your level. You say, come up to my level. Here are the strategies you need to be successful. Come enjoy the American dream and stop hoping that you can take what I've got away and we can all be drugged down to an even playing field at the bottom. We have to have conservatives vying for president that are not afraid to stand on those conservative values, to say, this is what I believe, God, family, country, the Constitution, and American values. I'm not going to step back from them. I'm not going to try to hide from them. And I will fight you on every single ground in the battlefield of ideas. Had Mitt Romney been the man with those true values, he would have won. Barack Obama would have lost. But instead, the American people were offered Barack Obama and a lighter version of Barack Obama. And they picked the real deal. And people that would have gotten on the bandwagon for the Republican Party under the guise of conservative values were disillusioned because we didn't have the candidate with the values, and we're not in the future. unless we make some changes in what we will allow to be the people that carry the banners for these parties. I don't know that it needs to be the Republican Party anymore, but it has to be the Conservative Party. And until we can create a party that's true to conservative values, that can articulate them, and is not afraid to say these are superior values, and here's why, we're going to lose. There's only so many more elections left in this country before the liberal values that are controlling things will destroy this country. All right, we're going to do a commercial break. We'll be back with more of the Conscience of Kansas radio program in a moment.